13, I do believe. AMA, in case you didn't know, Georgia, is Ask Me Anything.
Oh my God.
Yeah, not to scare you, but we allow our kids to ask unscripted questions to our guests. So Taborn and myself will be moderating, but it's all about the kids. So hopefully you have some positive messages for them, and you'll still be able to answer their questions.
Yes. I tend to be a say everything person, so this could work out well.
So boys and girls, for those of you that don't know Georgia, is it okay if I call you Georgia?
I don't know what else you'd call me.
Miss Georgia, ma'am, whatever you like. Georgia it is. So Georgia has been involved with POW for a number of years now. I had the fortune of meeting her possibly maybe 2 years ago, I think it has been. She's an actress, she's a singer, she's an artist like most of you guys know, and she's also a phenomenal baker. So hopefully one day you guys will be able to taste some of her treats like I had the fortune of tasting. But without any more delay, I want to introduce you to our guest today, Miss Sweet Georgia.
Thank you so much, Jeff. That's a very nice introduction. It's always fun to learn what other people retain about you and who you are. So I think that's a pretty reasonable summation of what I've been doing in the last little bit: baking, singing, acting, art.
And art. Amen. So let's dive into it. Let's get into it. Let's learn some more about Georgia. You grew up I think people can hear you have a little bit of an accent. So tell us about your growing up. Where did you grow up and what was that like?
Yeah, so funny, true fact about my accent. When I go to where I'm from, they think I have an American accent. So that makes it very confusing for everyone. I'm from Australia originally. I grew up in Melbourne, Australia, which is down the bottom. So despite what a lot of people think about Australia always being super, super, super hot, I'm from part of Australia that isn't always hot. In fact, it rains a lot there. Our weather is a lot like California in that California with a little bit more of Seattle. So we get lots of rain, but it still gets really warm during the summer, but we actually have colder days. And in fact, right now it's really cold there. It was 40 degrees overnight last night there. So it still gets chilly. But yeah.
40 degrees isn't that cold. Depending on where you come from, 40 degrees isn't that cold.
Okay, yes, as an Australian, that's cold.
Wow. She's like, winter cold.
Yeah, so I didn't even see snow until 3 years ago. So I'm look at me, I'm wearing a sweater right now today. Wow. That's a good indication of how fast I get cold.
Show of hands, boys and girls. Who knows where Australia is on the map? Nobody, huh? Wow.
So, hey, I want to say something about Australia really quick. And we had an Australian guest yesterday. But there's something very unique about Australia, just like there is to San Francisco. They have two similarities in a sense. Do you know what that is?
Is that for me or for everyone else?
For you and anyone else. Something very unique about Australia. That it's the only place, and I can't give the answer because it'll give it up. Anyone guess? Going once, going twice.
I have a guess, but I want, just in case.
All right, then you could chime in.
That it's an island.
Okay, partially, yeah. What else about it? Because you're right on there.
So it's the only continent, it's its own continent that's an island.
Well, its own continent that's a country.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So that's the only place in the world where a continent and country are one.
But we do absolve a couple of other small countries into that.
Yes.
We're hey, New Zealand, you can be part of our continent, and Tahiti, you can join too because you're cool. It's a bit like that.
Yeah.
So Alvin, you don't know where Australia is? You're probably the smartest guy on this Zoom chat. You don't know where Australia is?
You don't take AP Geography, do you there, Alvin?
We can't hear you.
Oh, isn't it like somewhere between the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, like somewhere between there?
Kind of. What about you, Miguel? Where's Australia at, Miguel? Actually, I'm gonna go to Ureli. Ureli, you're the second smartest one on this Zoom chat. Where's Australia at?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure? Miss Georgia, you're gonna have to explain to the kids. They don't know where Australia is.
Okay, so Alvin, you were
Wait a second. Yuritsa has her hand up. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Yuritsa.
Is it southeast? Yeah, southeast.
Southeast, like by New Mexico?
South.
No, like
No, like next. Mexico.
Go ahead, Georgia. Explain to her.
So Southeast is a hard one to classify because we're on a circle. So you are right that eventually we are Southeast, but I wouldn't say that that's how we would, like if you're going east and continue to go east and south, you'll get there. But we would tend to say, if you look at the map of America, that we're actually southwest of America, because it is, and Alvin, you were right, and you're talking about the Indian and the Pacific Ocean. Those do go on either side of us. But if you would have, say, for example, we're looking at California, and of course, everything's going to be reversed from what I'm doing. So don't pay attention to what I'm doing with my hands. That's just helping me say it. But if you have America and us in California, and you were to look southwest towards the ocean. So like you look at the ocean, but then look down sort of towards like Mexico, and you kept looking down for 15 hours of flying, you would find us in the middle of the ocean. So where the top of Australia sits on one of the quarter lines, if you were to divide the earth into quarters, a bit of our top goes into the bottom, like into the second quarter, but most of us are in the bottom quarter. And we are above Antarctica, so we're pretty close to Antarctica, which is why my part of the world gets colder than the top part, but we don't go all the way up. Does that make sense? So we're definitely the south part, the bottom. That's why about Australia, and they talk about the toilet going the other way and how we get everything wrong because we're upside down. It's because we're literally, like if you're here, we're here. So we are kind of flipped, if that makes sense.
Kimberly, Ashley, and Beth, can you guys unmute? I want to ask you a question. Did you hear her say how long the plane ride was to go to Australia?
No.
She said it's 15 hours. My question is to you, what's the longest airplane ride you've been on? If it's not 15 hours, what's the longest airplane ride you've been on?
We never been on an airplane before.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Georgia, maybe you can expand on that a little bit. What's it like to be in an airplane for 15 hours?
And so thank you for asking me, because I am really fortunate that I get to go on planes a lot. Not everybody likes planes. I love them. And 15 hours used to feel like a long time, but I fly to Africa a lot now. And so, and Africa and India, when you fly to Africa and India, the first 15 hours are just the first part.
Oh, God.
Then you have to get back on another plane and fly for another 6 to 8 hours. So now when I fly back to Australia, I'm like, 15, that's just the first half of this adventure. But I mean, it's weird because in Australia, when we get on the plane from here, and this is where your brains, like you got to turn your brains on for this one because it's confusing, but kind of cool. When you fly from here back to Australia, you get on the plane at nighttime, and then your body sort of wants to sleep, so it's easier. But when you get there, you're actually 2 days ahead. So even though you've only been on the plane for 15 hours, because of time differences, say I get on a plane on Monday night, I'll arrive there Wednesday morning. But when you fly back, it's horrible and yet kind of cool because you get on the plane in the morning. So you haven't really slept because you had to get to the airport by like 5 in the morning because you have to be there 3 hours before. So you imagine you get there really no sleep. You get on the plane in the morning and you really don't feel like sleeping because it's the morning. And then you fly for 15 hours and arrive in the morning of the same day you got on the plane, sometimes even before. So sometimes you time travel. Like I could get on the plane at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Monday and arrive in LA at 6 a.m. in the morning on a Monday, the same day. But then you have to stay up all day and you've already been up and you haven't really slept. So by the time you go to bed on that Monday, when you get back, you've basically been awake for 3 days.
I used to fly to Europe a lot, and it was always fun coming back because you're traveling back in time. It was always kind of cool. You're gaining time when you fly back.
Yeah.
Kimberly, Beth, and Ashley, if you guys were to get on a plane, where would you fly to? Your first plane trip ever. Where would you guys fly to?
Where did he go?
Mexico. Mexico.
Mexico?
Yeah.
Nice. Why Mexico?
We have family there that we never met before, so it'll be nice to meet them.
Would you ever fly to Australia to visit Miss Georgia?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, please.
And make sure she bakes you some brownies when you get over there.
Yes. I'll bake some Australian food. And I've flown to Mexico. That's a nice flight. That's only like 3 hours. That is not too bad.
So back to your story, Georgia. So you grew up in Australia until what age? And at what point did you think about making the trip out of Australia to something bigger and better?
It's a good question. So my decisions took two parts. And then the answer was, so the final answer to the question is I got on the plane when I was 18 years old.
Wow.
But I made the decision when I was 4.5 that I wanted to entertain, make people happy. I wanted to be a performer for a living. When I was 12, I decided I was watching a lot of the negative things that people were saying on TV and the media, and I saw female celebrities that were not doing great things. And so I thought, well, hang on, if that's who people are looking up to, that's not okay. So I'm going to move to Hollywood and I'm going to be a performer there that spreads positive messages for young people. So I decided in that moment, I was never going to drink, never going to do drugs, never going to do any smoking, and live a good life and be a performer. And then I realized, well, if I do that in Australia, only Australians will know, because Australia has its whole own TV world with its own celebrities and its own people that you would have never heard about, but they're famous. My brother's one of them, and no one here knows him. So I had this thought of like, well, if I want children around the world to know that they can be, love themselves and believe in themselves and do good things and be good people and still be cool, I need to do that from Hollywood, because that's where everyone watches. Like everyone in the world knows Hollywood. So I'm gonna go there. And then I made the decision. It was really good. So I met a young American actor who was 19 that year. And he said, what are you going to do when you grow up? And I said, well, I want to be an actor, but I don't know if I'm good enough. And he said to me something I'll never forget. He said, well, if you don't believe you are, no one will.
Ooh. Ooh.
Oh, you got me. So I said to him, that's it. I'm moving to America when I'm 18. And I don't think he believed me, but he picked me up the day that I flew in. So I actually stayed with him and his wife for 3 days to get some setting, get a new place.
Acclimated.
And he actually has ended up being he did the filming for a documentary film I made. So we're still like this. And I just met him that one time when I was 12.5. So that's the kind of journey of how it went.
Wow, amazing. And what he told you was so profound. That was awesome, man. I wanted to write that down when you said it, but I didn't want to see you. I didn't want you scribbling it. Just to be sure, to clarify, you said at 4.5, you decided you wanted to leave. Is that right?
So 12, I decided to leave.
Got it.
4.5, I'm really lucky because I know that most people take a long time to work out what it is that is their passion. I was so lucky that, and it's kind of funny, guys, you'll giggle at me, but it's not like I was the lead in a play when I decided this. I was a dancing skeleton in our Christmas concert. And I was 4.5 because I started school when I just turned 4. So
Georgia, the kids are laughing at you.
good, do laugh. I had black, totally black, and I had like masking tape. You know, the white tape. My mom had made me a skeleton costume, and I remember I remember I could describe the whole thing, and I was like, "This, I want to do this forever."
Just by a show of hands, how many of you boys and girls want to leave? Because you're all around that age, 12 years old. How many of you want to leave and go out and do something on your own, or leave your house and go to a different country? I see Kimberly, Beth. Talk to me. Where do you guys want to go? What are your dreams? Where do you, Yuritsa too? Go ahead,
Well,
Kimberly and Beth.
I would like to go to New York because I would like to go to a school over there, but I don't plan on leaving California. Like, it's not like I want to leave, but I would like to.
What school in New York?
Columbia.
Oh,
Nice.
Very nice. And your sisters?
The same thing.
We would like to go to the same place.
They want to follow you. What about you, Yuritsa? I saw your hand.
I like to go to
Australia?
Africa to see different types of animals I've never seen.
Yeah.
Wow, super cool, super cool. Well, I think Georgia has been to both of those places, New York and Africa, so she could probably tell you a little bit about both of those places.
There's less crazy animals in New York if you're talking about wildlife, but there's lots of interesting animals there anyway. And it's funny, Jeff, when you said, does anyone want to leave their house? I'm like, we're in quarantine. Everybody's like, yes, I want to leave your house. But yeah, so I've been to New York quite a bit, and I love it. And I've actually stayed at a place next to Columbia University, so I know exactly what you're talking about, which is super cool. New York is so different to LA. It's so different. And what's really funny is people in New York act really busy. Like, everybody's like, I'm so busy. I'm such a busy person. I'm going to go everywhere. And everyone's on the subway and off the subway and nobody makes eye contact. And they make fun of Californians because we're like, hey man, chill, we're cool. But they did a study, and people in Los Angeles work longer hours than people in New York. So we're actually busier. We just act like we're less busy. So it's a funny fact.
I didn't know that. You're going to have to show me where that source came from so I can say that's just some of my New York friends.
Yeah, I'll find it for you.
Right.
Africa, however, is a whole different adventure. Because so just to give you guys a reason of why I go to Africa. So amongst my entertainment work, as you heard, I said I wanted to spread positive messages. As I grew into that understanding of what that meant, I decided that just spreading the messages wasn't good enough. I think in life you might hear people say, like, don't just talk the talk, walk the walk. I realized that if I was going to talk about positive messages, that I also had to do the work. And with that, my passion is children and people that are living in really bad situations. And unfortunately, in Africa, that is extreme. Very, very extreme. And I was fascinated and interested and passionate about learning how perhaps somebody who has our understanding from living here could help. And so through those relationships, I started one organization in Ethiopia, which is up the top of Africa almost. Like it's sort of not the top, but like, once again, it's kind of like the New York of America, like over that. Well, actually, that's very to the side. Don't listen to me. It's up north-ish. And then that organization helps women and children to learn business skills. And then I was asked to help an organization in Uganda. And that is also, it's a little bit more Central Africa, but it's still very close to Ethiopia. And what we do there is work with communities that are 6 hours drive out of a main town. So these people live totally in a rural part. It feels a bit like a desert, but they have a lot of greenery because there's a lot of farms. And that community, they really are living in a world where having shoes is a big positive. We had to teach them why washing their hands is important and why you need soap. So what we might consider as sort of course you need your shoes. This is where they're at with learning that you can't go to school without your shoes. So it's really helped me. You know, I think in life, especially as you grow up, you think you know more, right? You're like, every year I'm like, oh, I learned this, I learned that, I learned that. Going to Africa has taught me that much I don't know. There's so much I never could have known, and I'm so grateful that I get to learn from them.
That's really cool. I've been to Africa a couple of times, and I share the same sentiments. You know, you witness how humble the people are. You witness how much they're willing to give back to just the race, the humanity of other people, and it's really cool to witness from somebody that doesn't have nothing, but they're still humble. It's really, really cool to see. I advise everybody, if they have an opportunity, to take a trip to Africa. It's really, really eye-opening.
You're right, Jeff. They are the most giving people, and it's amazing. And the best dancers, by the way. I hate to say it, but they're definitely the best dancers.
Yeah. So back to your story. You arrive here in Los Angeles in California. Your friend picks you up at the airport. It was California, right? Did I get that right?
Los Angeles.
Yeah. You arrive at LAX. You get off the plane. You're in a new world. I know you're with your friend, but take us through that experience. What was that like? You're running around saying, "Hey, mate," to everybody, and they're looking at you like, "Who is this weirdo?"
It was very much like that, because I have this sort of, as you guys did the art class probably notice, I have I love people, and I just love everybody. So when you've got this 18-year-old blonde girl that gets off the plane, it's like, I love everybody. Not everybody is prepared for that. Especially not in Los Angeles, California. So it definitely was a bit confusing for everybody. He couldn't pick me up from the airport. So he said, just get a bus to downtown and I'll meet you there after my class. So I said to the bus driver, hey, I need to go downtown. Will you take me there? And he looked at me and he goes, no. What do you mean? And he goes, that will not end well for you. I will take you to Santa Monica. So he took me to Santa Monica Beach, and I sat there for 3 hours. And in a sad sort of, you know, I work a lot with our friends experiencing homelessness, but in Australia, when I left, there wasn't a homeless population. So my first conversations with Americans were all the people experiencing homelessness on Santa Monica Beach, and just I was so confused. I was like, I don't understand why they all have luggage. And I thought that they all had been brought from the airport because they had luggage like me. So I was wrong. But the next 9 months, really, so I arrived April 28th, 2005. Not that I'm counting, but I'm totally counting. And it was the best day of my life. And I remember being on the bus, and for whatever reason, guys, like, you'll know this when you feel it if you haven't felt it yet, when you feel home. And I just was like, I'm home. I'm home for the first time in my life, and I'm on a bus from LAX to Santa Monica, and I don't know why I feel this way, but I'm home. And I was so happy. And I had been preparing a lot. So I'm not trying to tell you guys all to just at 18 be like, I'm going to get on a plane. See you guys later. I'd been preparing. I did myself a deal that I was going to do an hour of research every day for the last year before I got on the plane about LA, so that I would at least know as much as I could. And then also, just so you know, all that planning kind of goes out the window when you arrive and you see the reality. But I at least had done as much work as I could to feel like I'd done my best. So I arrived, and 2 days later, I got an email from the US government informing me that I had received the green card lottery. Now, I don't believe in like superstitions and things, but I do believe that when you're meant to be somewhere and when you put your effort and your energy towards it, sometimes the universe rewards you. And I felt like that was a little moment of a pat on the back saying, you're meant to be here. So I had to go through all of that paperwork, but I essentially, and there's a funny, silly story as well, where 3 months into my stay here, I was buying a car because you need those things in California. And the man selling me the car worked at the green card office and was the one that stamped my thing and called me and said, guess what I'm doing right now? And he helped me through the whole process, Geronimo. I'll never forget him. So that was a little bit of an amazing, the good side, but there was also many unknowns because I was 18 and didn't really know. I didn't know what a DMV was. I didn't know what the social security cards were. I didn't know who to call if your car broke down. Like these are all, I knew it in Australia, but I didn't know it here. So I had to relearn. And I think you guys will know when you start a new subject at school and you don't know, sometimes it can feel really upsetting that you can't feel smart. And I have to say that first year, I didn't feel very smart. And I like to feel smart. So it was a very, like, it challenged my identity a lot in that time. And I moved to like 6 different places. But the coolest thing, and I don't know if this will translate to you guys yet, because I don't think any of you guys are earning money yet. But, and if you are, good on you. But I couldn't earn money in the first year. As part of the green card situation, I was not allowed to earn money. And what's really amazing, and I'd saved up a lot of money. I'd been working since I was 14 years old, doing many side jobs. So I'd saved up all the money I needed to. I didn't get help. I had to do this myself. So I lived off that savings. But when you're not earning money, so you're not ever asking someone for a job. You're not ever, anyone you meet, you're never asking them for anything. You're just simply like, hi, I'm new here. I built such amazing friends that are still my friends now because they knew I didn't need anything from them or want anything from them. I just wanted to be their friend. And it was a really important thing that I couldn't have learned any other way. So that's the first year. So.
Let's go back into something you said though. You said before you came here, before you got on the plane, you studied, you learned about it, you did some research about it. The reason why I wanted to touch on that is because Alvin is getting ready to go to a different school, right, Alvin?
Yes, I am.
Tell us about it. You're going into high school?
Yeah, I'm going to high school.
And you're going to a high school that your friends aren't going to be there? Or
Yeah, they're not gonna go over there. They're gonna go to like Fairfax.
Ashley, what about you? Are you going into a new school?
No.
Kimberly? Is it Kimberly? I got the names wrong. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I'm already in high school.
What high school are you in?
A high school here in Rosemead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe Georgia, maybe Alvin, you could understand what Georgia's saying. Do a little bit of research about the school, do a little research about the area, and maybe that'll help you out when your transition comes to actually doing your first few days in that school.
Yeah. I think, like anything, I think we're all more afraid of something when we don't have information. It's like anything. You know, if you're afraid of somebody, once you talk to them and learn more about them, they don't seem so scary. Or when you go, like you said, with going to a new school, when you learn more, I think sometimes we can make ourselves afraid when we don't have information. So the more information you can get for yourself, and that's what's amazing. Like, believe me, Google and the internet were not as good 15 years ago as they are now. I'm not saying all the information you'll find will be true now, but you certainly got a lot more to play with. Back then I had to wait for the connection, and then it would break, and then I'd like get some really bad website, and then it wouldn't. So believe me, you guys have the magic of Google to just help yourselves not be so afraid of things.
Yuritsa and Miguel, they were getting ready to go to a tournament in Utah. That tournament was recently canceled. But Yuritsa and Miguel, were you guys scared, nervous about getting on the plane?
I wasn't really nervous about the plane. I was just nervous about the tournament. I was just kind of nervous about going to another state.
And Yuritsa?
I was the same, but during the plane, if we went to the plane, I would actually be a lot nervous, and also the tournament.
What would make you nervous about the plane, Yuritsa?
Well, because sometimes plane crashes. Plane crash.
Did you know planes crash less than cars? There are more car crashes around the world than plane crashes.
I did not know that, sir.
Yeah, just maybe you can touch on that one more time, Georgia, as far as our kids, as far as taking a journey, taking a voyage anywhere. Maybe how do they get over that fear? How do they get over that uneasiness?
So it's a really good question, and it's hard to tell people not to feel afraid when they do, right? Like, it's like when you're sad and someone says, don't be sad, you're like, that doesn't help. Like, I'm sad. And the same way that if someone says, don't be afraid, that doesn't really help either. But I will tell you from flying, I would say on average in the last 8 years, I've flown every 2 months, maybe. I've been on a plane every 2 months, probably average. And I have never, ever, ever been afraid because of something that was happening on there. Like, nothing bad has happened to the point where I was like, okay, now I'm afraid. Never. Sure, it goes up and down, it gets bumpy. But I think what helps me, and my mom taught me this when I was little, so it helps me a lot. Whenever I'm afraid, I try and identify what the sound is, or like I ask someone, or if I hear a bang, I'm like, what could that be? And then when someone says, that's the wheels going up, or, you know, when the turbulence happens, turbulence is when the plane goes like this. And if I say, why is that happening? And they say, that's because the wind is actually just changing direction. And the plane it's like, you imagine if the wind's blowing this way and the plane's going that way, and then the wind changes, the plane has to adjust to then move. So it's going to do that. Once you know that, you're not going, what's happening? Why is this happening? So I encourage you guys, kind of like we were saying, it's okay to be afraid, because that's normal. When you don't know something or you don't understand, it's good to be afraid, because that's a survival mechanism. There's certain times when you should be afraid and run away. But the more you understand and you put names to sounds or things you see, or even sometimes feelings, the less afraid you will be. That would be
awesome. Awesome. Sound words of wisdom, very sound words of wisdom. We call them wows over here, words of wisdom. So now you're here in America. You've gotten on the bus. You've hugged every homeless person that you saw between the airport and Santa Monica. Yep. What happens now? You tell us how you start to get into your career path. Do you start singing? Do you start acting? Do you start painting? What was it that sparked your interest or that you wanted to get into right away?
Yeah, and I just want to put a little caveat in there, because I know often when we're talking about careers, we talk about degrees and college and all that sort of stuff. So I want to give you guys that information if you're wondering. I never thought I would go to college. And then I was fortunate enough. So I finished school at 16. And So I actually was able to do some things before. It wasn't like I finished high school and got on a plane. I'd had a couple of years. So I originally was like, I'm going to be an actress, so I don't need to go to college. I don't need to do all that. If I don't get into an art school, I'll just work. Then my parents are very strict and very much like, you go to college. They all wanted me to be a teacher because I love kids. Like, it was like, this is what you're going to do. And if you don't want to do that, we don't want to talk about it. So, know that feeling, guys? Maybe some of you. Yeah. So my choice was not an okay choice. They are lovely, wonderful people, but it just was not okay. So I was on my own. What they wanted me to do, though, was I got into a very hard university course. I took the test as almost a joke. I was like, oh, sure, fine. I'll do that test that you guys want me to do for this college degree. It was for public relations, which is like communications. And so there's a really, really hard course to get into in Australia. I took the test, and I got in. And then I felt bad that if I'd got in and I was going to reject that position, so I decided to do the degree. So I got a degree in public relations. I've never worked in public relations, but it is actually if you're not sure what you want to do, or if you want to do something that you're not sure what the degree would be, communications is a very good degree to get because it teaches you how to talk to people, how to relate, public relations, how to relate publicly. So it's been extremely helpful for me. So that's important to know. But career here, it's a really interesting journey because I started here doing some fun things. I got some small acting jobs. I was on Jimmy Kimmel regularly as one of his sketch artists. So I actually played Supergirl on Jimmy Kimmel about 8 times. I was able to play ice hockey with Cuba Gooding Jr., who most of you won't know, but the officers certainly will. And the host, Jimmy Kimmel, knew that I couldn't ice skate and I'd never been on ice. So before they turn the cameras on, he went over the loudspeaker. He's like, Supergirl's not to get on the ice until we start. So I wasn't allowed to practice. And he and I were playing ice hockey with Batman and Robin in the Winter Olympic Games. And as you do, right, guys? And we won. And he went to high five me, and I'd done okay. I hadn't fallen over. And he went to high five me, and I fell flat on my butt on national television. And then they were like, and cut, end of episode.
Of course.
I can't wait to see that.
I've never found it. So if you do, it'll be funny. But anyway, so I had fun jobs like that. And then I realized something. I love laughing. And I wasn't doing it here because I think sometimes young girls, and I mean this with a lot of love, but young girls that come here and are very serious just take things a little too seriously, in my opinion. I'm from a country where we make fun of each other when you like each other. So I would make fun of these girls and they'd get hurt feelings. And I thought we were friends. And that's how we were bonding. So I realized pretty quickly that I needed to find my friends. And my friends turned out to be comedians. So I started doing stand-up comedy.
Oh, wow.
I ended up doing stand-up for 6 years here in LA. I was able to have some success, but not a lot because I didn't really jump into the world. Like I said to you guys, I believe in not smoking and drinking and, and I believe in positive things, and comedians can be pretty negative sometimes. So I did okay, and it was great to learn to laugh, and be able to make people laugh, and that's fun. But during that time, something really important happened to me. So I was doing okay. Like I said, I was making a living off acting, but not, really scraping by. And then out of the blue, my hair all fell out. So I had been a hair model up to this point. You see this, there's a lot of it. And all my hair fell out in 2 weeks. And it was scary, and talk about fear, because I didn't know why. I didn't have the information. I didn't have a doctor here to go to. I didn't know my parents, no family. I just had like friends worth a year. And when you know, like if you've only been friends with someone for a year, they're usually not your bestest buddy. So it was scary. What it ended up being was that I had a condition called alopecia areata, which is a autoimmune condition. In fact, I'm actually wearing a sweater for the children's organization for today. I just realized. It's where your hair just starts falling out. Your body gets a message that your hair is no good and just lets it go. It doesn't hurt except on the inside, and it's not going to affect your life other than emotionally and how people might treat you. So I wasn't sick. I just had a condition. I started wearing wigs, and I spent a year wearing wigs, and I did not like that at all because I felt like I was lying. I felt like I was lying about who I was. I didn't tell anyone because I'd been told not to because it might ruin my career. A lot of people said, oh, don't tell anyone, they won't hire you. What happened was it's the best thing that ever happened for my career, because when I learned to be confident with who I was and own this, all of a sudden, people wanted to hear that story and children wanted to hear that story. So here I was, right, moving to America to spread positive messages for kids. And all of a sudden I was on national television talking about what it's like to lose your hair. And I made a movie about it, which is why I got on TV. I decided to make a movie and have everybody understand that when you think something might be the worst thing that's ever happened to you, it could be the best thing. And so I was doing this movie, my hair came back, went away, and came back and went away, and it's gone and come 5 times. Right now I have a massive forehead. It's not as big as mine usually starts there, but I'm learning to embrace that. And I have little holes at the back and stuff around here, but this is my hair and that's okay. And it is what it is. But all of that to be said, as these things were going on, I was also getting some big roles. So the stuff that you guys might find more fun is that during this time, because I was still insecure about what I looked like, but I was able to get some big voiceover jobs. So I was able to book the job of Vanille in Final Fantasy 13, which is one of the lead characters. I'm one of the lead characters in the Star Wars video game. I am a lead character in another game called Payday 2. And then also other things I was doing, I did Angelina Ballerina in Australia and little fun things like that. But what it meant was that I had, and this sounds so weird, but like I had fans that knew who I was and cared about me. And then they would go online and learn that I'd been through this stuff. And they suddenly would be like, I don't feel understood, or I didn't think this was okay about me, but because you're saying it's okay to have these things and it's okay to learn to be okay with yourself, I feel better now. And it created this magical thing where if you'd told me before that you lose your hair, I'd be like, no, don't do that. That's what I make my money off. Now I would never, ever take it back, because it's allowed me to do the thing that I care the most about, which is to look at somebody else and say, we've all got something. What's yours? Like, we've all got a thing we're nervous about.
You know, we've had a lot of guests come on, and a lot of guests have shared their stories, but I don't think anybody has shared as much insight or personal insight that you've shared with us today. This awesome, you know, especially for little girls. The message that you just relayed is something that I hope they're going to take away from this and use with them when they go forward in life. Ureli, did you understand like what she just said? You still got to face who you are and be happy with who you are. Did you understand that?
From what I understood was that like you should be happy with who you are and how you look.
I think they get it. I think they get it, Georgia. That's awesome, really.
Really, that's perfect. There's one little thing I'd add to that I've had to learn, because I think we try and tell ourselves, right, that we should be okay and that we should just accept ourselves. What's also important to know is it may not happen immediately. It's okay for it to take time. It's okay. Like, don't be mad at yourself that you don't accept yourself as well as not accepting yourself, because that's just an added layer, as you can tell, I'm a pretty confident person, but it still took me years to be okay with this. And that's, tell people that. You can say, I'm not feeling particularly confident. And I guarantee you that most of the other people you tell that to will say, me too.
How about you, Beth? Did you understand what she was explaining right now?
Do you understand me?
Kimberly,
Yes, I understand what she's saying.
explain to me, what did you understand?
That you have, like, it's okay to not be confident. It takes time. Like, whatever you want to achieve, there's always a struggle, but from that struggle, you will learn. That's what I understand.
And Georgia, that's, wow, I can't thank you enough. You know what I mean? Just to see little girls repeating your message, such a powerful and strong message. Just to see our families, our little girls repeating that strong message is, wow, I don't have words for it. I don't have words for it.
It's magic.
We'll go with that. It's magic.
Speaking of magic, let's talk a little bit about your art projects that you've been doing all over the city. I'm sure some of the kids are familiar, and for those that aren't, this would be a perfect opportunity to describe that to them.
Yeah, thank you. So that's something else that came on board with all of this, is I wanted to find a way that you guys and young people could leave their mark on the city, like literally leave a mark. And what better way to do that than permanent art? So we took on an amazing adventure to do 150 art murals across LA that were designed by kids and police officers, because I wanted you guys to have, like, you guys know, it's great to have a friend that's a police officer and build that friendship. So I wanted more kids to have that. So we've now done 59 murals across LA that are permanent. We just did 32 on the weekend in one place that was just, they're not permanent though. And some of you guys, I think, is it everybody in this? I think maybe, no, Alvin, we didn't have you join us, but maybe you will tomorrow. But we're doing our new one that we're gonna do together with Noah. So this is how we do what we do, is just invite everybody. And a big part of it, as you guys saw, is everybody coming to it. You don't have to be confident. You don't have to know how to do it, but together we'll do it. So yeah, we get to do that. And then there's the other thing that we're going to do that I mentioned to you guys at the end, which I'm going to start interviewing you guys and get some perspective on your story. So I hope when we send that out, you guys will join me as well. That's another thing we're doing together.
You did some of the actual paintings over at Wood and Vine. I think those are the non-permanent paintings you're talking about. So when there was rioting and whatnot, they had to board up the stores. When they boarded up the stores, Georgia came up with an incentive to go buy those boarded up stores and paint something on those boards. Maybe you can talk to us about those that you've done over here right in our area.
Hollywood and Vine, which you guys probably know, where the stars are on the ground there. We brought a whole lot of artists together, and we brought community together. And some of you guys were there, right? Did we have, yeah, Miguel, you were there. And you were there, and we just painted all day, and then it grew. So what you guys saw turned into 4 days where people kept coming back and wanting to do more. We learned a lot from that experience, because some people got their feelings hurt about different things. And I've learned a lot in that last week about feelings that get hurt and how to deal with that, which sometimes when you're in charge, you don't notice all the pieces, you're just going forward. But I've definitely learned a lot in the last week, and am being very honest that I didn't know that going in. So talk about that learning lesson, guys, that we're always learning. But yeah, we painted, and so we're going to keep the boards, and we're actually going to keep them as hopefully something when you guys talk about like going field trips and stuff, hopefully there'll be things that you can visit at a gallery, at a school field trip, and learn about this moment in history and what happened, because there were 50,000 protesters that came there after we finished on that Sunday. So we were pretty lucky to get out of there, because that's a lot of people in one small space. But I'm not good at crowds, so that's just me. Maybe you guys like them. But yeah, that's our plan. And thank you guys for joining us when you did.
Alvin, what did you help paint?
At Hollywood and like sort of Vine over there, I painted like the background of the wall. That's what I painted, and like some of the sunflowers.
Nice.
Great job, by the way.
Nice. What about you, Ureli?
I painted the background as well.
Same board? Nice. Yuritsa?
I painted a lot of things like the butterfly, a rose, and flowers and outlining.
Wow.
They were so responsible, Jeff. I have never had a group of young people be so responsible with their paintbrushes and their paints. I mean it. In 59 murals, they win.
Wow. Good job, kids. Good job. Officer Alcaraz, you got a question?
No, actually, I'm good. I was just, well, I do actually. Speaking about the alopecia that you were going through, is that just a one-time thing, or is it just on your head? Is it like on like your arm hair, your leg hair, your eyebrows, your eyelashes?
It's a really good question. And I've been able to get a huge lesson from that answer. So there's 3 different sorts of alopecia. One is where you lose it everywhere, like all gone, eyebrows, nose hair, whole hair, gone. And the medium version where you lose it on the top of your face and your head, but you don't lose it on your body. And then there's one called alopecia areata, which is what I have, where you lose it in spots and places, and it can come and go. So, for example, the first time I lost most of my hair, I had like 2 little spots left of hair, and then hair, and I lost my eyebrows. And each time that it's come back, it's been different. So sometimes like I'll lose all the hair here, like as even like girls have little fluffy hairs here. And then I'll lose like patches. Once I had a heart-shaped patch, which I thought was so cool. And I shaved my head for 5 years anyway, because I just didn't want to deal, because it doesn't, no matter how comfortable you are, it doesn't feel good, your hair falling out and coming back. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to shave it. It's easier that way, and I'll wear wigs. And then what is, like, we all have debates. Like people that have no hair often say like, we have it the worst. And we have a big joke. Like everyone in the alopecia community in general is very lighthearted and has jokes about this stuff because it helps us deal with it. And then, it's sort of, a lot of people agree that having areata, my one, where it comes and goes, is almost harder because you never get to know what you are. Like sometimes I have hair, sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's coming out, sometimes it's going and coming back. And it's taught me another really important lesson, that sometimes in life, you just have to let go. Like you can't control it. I can't control what my hair does, even though I want to control everything and we always want to feel in control. This is something, no matter how hard I try, I can't control. And it's really taught me that sometimes in life, you just need to let go and accept the way something is and focus on the things you can change yourself, which what I could change was how I felt about that. I could work instead on making children feel okay about the fact that their hair was going, and I could feel okay with the fact that this is what it is. So where like my parents are like, oh my gosh, your hair's come back, that's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, don't celebrate it because it might go away again. And then I feel like I'm letting you down if it goes away. And so it's been, but learning to let go with mine, because it's this patchy, funny one. Like I lost a little bit just the other day. I was like, oh, I can feel some up here. I was like, yep, I can feel some coming out. But in general, I've had more than not recently. But I've got lots of friends that have absolutely, like if you guys, there's an actor, Anthony Carrigan, who was on Gotham, which I don't know if you guys have seen. He's on the TV show Barry now. And he has absolutely no hair. And he's one of my best friends. And he loves it. When he had my spotty one, he was like constantly trying to draw his eyebrows on and do that. And he felt so stupid. And now he's famous because he's bald.
Oh. He's the gay assassin on that show, right?
Yes.
The gay mob guy. Yeah, he's really good. Really good.
So funny. Yeah.
Tell Tell him I love him on that show.
I will. I was the first alopecia friend he ever had. We used to have secret meetings.
Wow. Great question, by the way, Officer Alcaraz. Andrea, are you there?
Yes.
Andrea, I believe, just going back to the paintings, I believe you'd helped with a lot of paintings over the years. Is that correct?
Yes, I have.
Do you enjoy painting with Georgia? Do you enjoy the program?
I do.
Any words of advice or encouragement for the kids that are listening?
I don't know.
So profound, like your sister.
Andrea has been an amazing team member. She's been with us since 2017 in June. So she's one of our OGs.
And Andrea is about to be a senior in high school.
Crazy.
Crazy,
and by the
right?
way, she was about this big when we started.
Time flies. Time flies. Lee, you have anything?
We're wrapping up. I think I covered most of the stuff, but any strong words of encouragement? You said so much so far, but what would be like the last sentence you can give these guys to like help them push forward in just their day-to-day journeys?
Yeah, thank you. I think so much of what we want to say in life is about like, go out and like, I'm the number one person that's like, go out and get your dream and like make it happen and do everything. And I will tell you that. And as we move forward as friends and we do these interviews and things, I will tell you that. But I also want to say that the best thing that you can do for yourself is be okay with where you're at today. So be thinking about forward and be thinking about your dreams and be thinking about what you want to do. But don't let how you feel today get you down on that journey. Because it's like every day is different. Some days we're happy, some days we're sad, some days we're angry, some days we're confused, some days we're tired. And that makes you a whole person. And I think sometimes we can judge ourselves by what we're feeling today. And the more you feel and the more maybe you get down on yourself, the more successful you're going to be when you embrace that side of you. So don't be mad at yourself today for feeling something that maybe you think might be bad, because it's normal.
You know, we always try to end off on that, you know, words of wisdom like we talked about before, our wows. And I think that one's going to resonate a lot with the kids. That's really strong, Georgia. Really, really strong. Thank you for sacrificing your time, dedicating your time.
Now, so this is way cooler.
We would love to have you back on again, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. Oh, I'd love to.
Amen. Oh, I'm sorry. They're just telling me here in the office, there's a mural class tomorrow at 4 o'clock, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Georgia, you could talk about that?
Mural class is 10 a.m. Yep, Yuritsa knows. It's 10 a.m.
That's
tomorrow.
Shirelli.
Is it? Sorry.
Okay.
Guys, I'm learning quickly. You got me on the first 3 letters. So yeah, 10 o'clock tomorrow, and you guys are so welcome. For the few people that weren't there last week, we're back on, and Noah's going to join us again. And then look out for that invitation for me to interview you. So those are the next 2 things that we're going to do together.
Maybe just talk about that class. What is the mural class? What do you do on there?
So we are designing a mural for Hollywood Boulevard. Well, it's just off Hollywood Boulevard on Las Palmas. And it's going to be, I understand Noah's going to draw something about our community and how we feel about like us in our community, I think is going to be the tone. And tomorrow, if you guys who are in the class bring your homework, even though we don't call it homework, but the stuff that you worked on, that way we can talk about it together. And I think tomorrow we're going to be exploring how we feel about our community.
Cool. Make sure you guys join in, okay? 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Make sure you guys join in.
We've got some, other OGs coming, Andrea, and some other sort of older seniors and stuff that are part of our team to sort of create a big team tomorrow.
I think Urelli's an OG now, huh?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
On behalf of Pal, on behalf of everybody involved, thank you. Really, really strong words. Really strong words. We love you. Can't wait to have some more of your baked goods over here. And we'll be talking to you soon.
I
Thank
think
you
he's
all.
hungry.
You're part of my family, and I just adore you all.
Amen.
Okay. See you
Have
guys.
a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Guys.
Bye.
I was gonna say bye.
I know, right? You didn't want to hang up without saying bye?
I know. I was like, oh, I don't want to leave you hanging.
You're only across the hall.
I know, right? I can still hear you now.